I took my husband to a party. He left with another woman for money. My husband and I have been together for 7 years, married for 4. Things weren't perfect, no marriage is, but I thought we were stable. I thought we were happy. Or, at least good enough. Lately, though, I'd noticed little things. He'd started dressing nicer for work. He kept his phone face down all the time. He suddenly hated when I touched his phone, which used to be completely normal. And he became bitchy. Honestly. Snappy, dismissive, acting like everything I said was an inconvenience. But I brushed it off as stress. Work, bills, life. You know how it goes. So when a close friend invited us to a big formal party, fancy house, rich guests, open bar, I thought it would be a good chance for us to reconnect. Maybe loosen up, dance, drink, laugh a little. I didn't realize that night would break our marriage in ways I wasn't ready for. The party started off fine, better than fine, honestly. The house was gorgeous, the kind of place with marble floors, gold fixtures, and chandeliers bigger than my car. My husband's eyes immediately lit up, which should have been my first red flag. He spent the first hour wandering around like a kid in a luxury toy store. "Can you imagine living like this?" he whispered to me, staring at a painting worth more than our entire savings. I laughed it off, not realizing he wasn't joking. Then she walked in. You know the type. Tall, dripping in diamonds, hair so shiny it looked photoshopped in real life. The kind of woman who wears wealth like perfume. My husband noticed her instantly. His entire posture changed, like someone had plugged him into an electrical outlet. He smoothed his shirt, fixed his hair, and actually left my side to go talk to her. I watched them from across the room. Her laugh was high and fake, his smile was wide and real, too real. At some point, she glanced at me, smirked, and I swear to God, she mouthed, "Goo," like I was some charity case. And before I could even process the insult, she pulled a dollar bill out of her clutch, crisp, brand new, and threw it at my feet. Everyone around us gasped. She smiled at me with perfect teeth and said loudly, "Don't worry, I'll take good care of him tonight." My husband didn't defend me. He didn't deny it. He didn't even look ashamed. He just shrugged and said, "Relax. She's fun." And then he left with her. Left me standing in the middle of a marble floor with a dollar bill at my feet. I just stood there, frozen. People around me whispered, stared, avoided eye contact, the kind of awkward silence that hits a room when something insane happens, but no one wants to acknowledge it. I felt heat rush to my face, the kind that burns from humiliation, rage, and heartbreak all at once. My hands were shaking. My chest felt tight. I couldn't breathe. I picked up the stupid dollar bill off the floor. Not because I wanted it, but because leaving it there felt like admitting defeat. One of the hosts came over, touched my shoulder gently, and said, "Sweetheart, do you need a ride home?" I nodded, because if I opened my mouth, I knew I'd start sobbing in front of everyone. On the ride back, I stared out the window, tears silently running down my cheeks. I kept replaying the moment over and over. The dollar bill, her voice, his face, the fact he didn't even hesitate. By the time I got home, I felt numb, completely numb. I went inside, took off my makeup, sat on the couch, and waited. Waited for him to text me. Waited for him to apologize. Waited for him to at least pretend he cared. Nothing. At 3 a.m., I realized I had to stop waiting for someone who clearly didn't see me as anything more than background noise. And that's when the anger kicked in, sharp, pure, cleansing anger. I knew exactly what I needed to do next. By 3 a.m., I was wide awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every humiliating second of the night. I thought about the dollar bill, the smirk, his face when he left with her, how he didn't even pretend to feel guilty. My ears were still ringing with her voice. "I'll take good care of him tonight." Somewhere between heartbreak and rage, a switch flipped inside me. I realized something. He didn't leave with her because she was pretty. He didn't leave with her because he was drunk. He left because she was rich, something he'd been obsessing over for months. And that's when it hit me. He wasn't loyal. He wasn't loving. He wasn't trustworthy. He was opportunistic. A man who'd trade a marriage for a woman with money and a shiny chandelier. I sat up, wiped my face, and whispered to myself, "Not anymore." I grabbed my bag, my spare key, and quietly left the apartment. I drove to my brother's house, where I knew I'd be safe for the night. And by the time the sun came up, I had already made arrangements. A locksmith, a friend with a truck, a place to stay. If my husband wanted to walk out with a rich woman, then he could enjoy figuring out how to get back in. By 8 a.m., I was standing outside our house with a locksmith who didn't ask many questions, thank God. I probably looked like I had cried all night because I had. He changed every lock. Front door, back door, garage door. Even the stupid little side gate my husband always forgot existed. When it was done, he handed me the new keys and said, "Whoever had the old ones, yeah, they're not getting in anymore." Perfect. I went inside, grabbed 2 trash bags, and started collecting his things. Not neatly, not gently, not with emotional music playing in the background. No. I threw in everything he cared about. His designer sneakers, his gym clothes, his PS5 controllers, his collector action figures he swore were investments, his stupid gold chain necklace that wasn't even real gold. All of it went into the bags like garbage, because that's exactly how he treated me the night before. I placed the bags neatly on the porch, right in front of the camera, just in case he wanted to perform for the neighborhood later. Then I sat on the couch with a cup of coffee, my first calm moment in hours, and waited for the show to begin. And oh, did it begin. At 11:17 a.m., his car pulled up. He looked hungover, confused, and, let's be honest, cheap without the rich woman attached to his arm. He walked up the steps, tried the front door, And when the key didn't work, he laughed. Actually laughed. Then, he tried again. And again. And again. The laughter slowly died. He knocked. Then banged. Then kicked the door and yelled my name like I had wronged him. And I just watched from the window, sipping my coffee, feeling nothing but cold, sweet justice. I waited until he had fully transitioned from confused to angry toddler before I finally opened the blinds. Just enough for him to see me. Not enough for him to feel welcome. His face lit up like a firecracker. "Why the hell are my keys not working?" he yelled. I took a slow sip of my coffee and said calmly, "Well, maybe, because you left with another woman last night?" He blinked at me like the concept of consequences had never occurred to him. "That was nothing. Stop being dramatic. Just open the damn door." "No," I said, taking another sip. He stared at me, stunned. Apparently the word no was new for him. "What do you mean no?" he demanded. "I mean," I said slowly, "that I don't want cheaters in my house." He scoffed. Full scoff. Oh my god, it wasn't cheating. She just wanted to talk. I raised an eyebrow. "Is that why she threw $1 at me?" "Because she wanted to talk." That was just a joke," he stuttered. "Oh, and you leaving with her?" "She has a Tesla." I was just being polite. I almost choked on my coffee. "So, you left your wife at a party to be polite to a rich stranger who offered to take care of you tonight." He opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. "Stop twisting my words," he snapped. I leaned against the doorframe. "Sweetheart, I'm not twisting anything. I watched you saunter out like you just won the lottery." His face turned red, part embarrassment, part anger. "I want my stuff." I pointed to the porch. "It's right there. In the bags. Like trash. Appropriate, really." He sputtered. "You can't do this to me." I shrugged. "I already did." He stomped over to the bags, ripped them open, and held up one of his prized collector figures. "You packed it wrong. This could have broken." "Oh no," I said dryly. "Anyway." He threw the figure down and stormed back toward the door. "You're going to regret this," he yelled. I smiled sweetly. "No, honey, you are." After his little tantrum on the porch, he started pacing like a malfunctioning Roomba, running his hands through his hair and muttering to himself. I was still inside, watching from the window like it was free cable TV. Then he suddenly froze, took a deep breath, and put on what I can only describe as his fake nice voice. The same voice he used with cops, waiters, and women he wanted something from. He knocked on the door again, lightly this time. "Babe, can we talk? Please." I almost laughed. The audacity. I opened the window just a crack. "What do you want?" He put on the saddest puppy face, which would have been cute if it wasn't attached to a grown man-child who ditched his wife for a gold-digging socialite. "I made a mistake, okay? I drank too much. I wasn't thinking clearly." "Really?" I said. "Because your speech seemed pretty clear when you walked out with your new sugar mama." He winced. "That's not what happened." "Oh? So she didn't throw a dollar bill at me?" That was dramatic flair. She was just being disrespectful, bold, disgusting. I cut in. He sighed dramatically. "Babe, I'm sorry." "I swear it didn't mean anything." "Right," I said, nodding. "So you'd leave your wife with no ride home for something that meant nothing?" His mouth opened like he was about to say something profound. Instead, "You're blowing this way out of proportion. Rich people act differently, okay?" I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" He shrugged helplessly. "That's how people in high society joke around. She threw money at me." He raised an eyebrow. "That's called confidence." I nearly fell over. "So," I said slowly, "walking off with another woman, that's confidence too?" "It's networking," he snapped. "She has connections. You don't understand how important that could have been for my future." There it was. The truth, spilling out without hesitation. Not "I made a mistake." Not "I love you." Not "I regret it." Just, "She's rich and useful." I stared at him through the window. "You know what?" I said softly. "You're right. I don't understand." He looked relieved, like I was seconds from apologizing. So I added, "And I don't want to." Then I shut the window in his face. He started pounding on the door again immediately. "Are you serious? You're just going to end everything over one night?" I yelled back through the door. "You ended everything the moment you walked out with her." There was silence. Then a quiet, shocked. "So that's it?" "That's it," I said. "Goodbye." He exhaled sharply, grabbed the bags, and stormed off, but not before shouting, "You're going to regret this when I'm rich." I called back cheerfully. "Perfect. You and your sugar mama have something in common." He screamed into the void, then drove away so fast he almost hit the neighbor's mailbox. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. After he sped off like a dollar store fast and furious extra, the house finally went quiet. Peaceful, actually. I made myself another cup of coffee, sat down, and just breathed. No yelling. No tension. No walking on eggshells. Just silence. It felt strange, but in a good way. Like detox. Around noon, I heard a knock at the door. A soft, polite knock. Definitely not him. I opened it and nearly choked on my coffee. It was her. The dollar bill throwing, diamond-draped gold bar of a woman. She stood there looking like she had stepped out of a luxury ad campaign. Perfect curls, perfect smile, perfect fake innocence. I didn't say a word. I just stared. She held out a folded bill, another crisp dollar. "I think you dropped this last night," she said sweetly. My jaw clenched. "What do you want?" She looked around, then lowered her voice conspiratorially. I just wanted to thank you, she said. You really handled things gracefully. I laughed. A single, disbelieving laugh. You threw money at me and announced you were taking my husband for the night. That's not what I call graceful. She waved a perfectly manicured hand. Oh, honey, he's not worth fighting over. I didn't even want him. I was testing him. My eyebrows shot up. Testing him. She nodded. My fiancé is insanely jealous and extremely wealthy. I needed to see if your husband was the type to jump ship for money. She shrugged casually. He failed. Immediately.
You blinked her.
You used my husband as bait? She smiled. Well, he took the bait. That's on him, isn't it? I was speechless. Absolutely speechless. She slipped the dollar bill into my hand and said, buy yourself something sweet. You deserve it. Then she turned around, walked back to her black SUV, and drove off like she hadn't just casually detonated a bomb in my emotional living room. I closed the door slowly, staring at the dollar. My husband cheated for money, with a woman who didn't even want him. Honestly, I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. But one thing was clear. He had no idea who he'd betrayed me for. And I couldn't wait for him to find out. Around 3 p.m., the familiar sound of his car pulling into the driveway made my stomach twist. Not with fear this time, but anticipation. I stood in the hallway, arms crossed, waiting. He tried his key again. And again. And again. Clink. 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 Finally, he banged on the door like a toddler denied candy. Open the door. What did you do to the lock? I opened it just enough to look at him. He smelled like cheap perfume and regret. He pushed past me into the house like he still lived here. What the hell, babe? Why'd you change the locks? He demanded. I leaned on the wall. Why do you think? He ran a hand through his hair and sighed dramatically. Look, I know what you think you saw last night, but it's not what it looked like. I laughed out loud. Oh, good, the classic starter line. He glared at me. I'm serious. She needed help. With what? Navigating her mansion? He ignored that. She was drunk, okay? Like super drunk. She could barely walk. I couldn't just leave her. I'm not a monster. Really? Because she seemed perfectly stable today when she came to MY house to give me $1. His eyes widened. She what? Oh yeah, I continued. Turns out you were part of the test. Congratulations, you failed instantly. He sputtered. No, she's lying. She's obsessed with me. She's been chasing me all night. She threw herself at me. She threw money at you. I reminded him. He paused. Then tried a different approach. Listen, babe, he softened his voice. I only went with her because I didn't want to embarrass you at the party. You were acting jealous and insecure. I snapped. Oh, there it is. The gaslighting. Right on schedule. He rolled his eyes. You're being dramatic. You cheated on me, I said calmly. I didn't, he yelled. We just talked. That's it. Great, I said. Then you won't mind if I ask her fiancé what happened. He froze. Hurt fiancé? I smiled sweetly. Yes. The one with the yacht? The one she said is insanely wealthy? The one she said cheated on her before and she wanted to test him. Not you. He went pale. No, she wouldn't. She wouldn't tell him. Right? She wouldn't actually do that. I shrugged. Guess we'll find out. He started pacing, muttering to himself. This is bad. This is really bad. If he finds out I was with her, he'll kill me. Babe, you have to help me. I stared at him. The only person I need to help is myself. He stopped pacing. What does that mean? It means, I said slowly, you can pack your things. You're not living here anymore. His jaw dropped. I made one mistake. No, I corrected him. You made a choice. He pointed at me accusingly. You're overreacting. And you, I said, opening the front door, are leaving. He hesitated, then dramatically grabbed his chest. You're throwing away our marriage over nothing. I tilted my head. So, you admit you did something? He froze, realizing his slip. I raised an eyebrow. Exactly. He grabbed his bag and stormed out, yelling. You'll regret this. I shut the door behind him. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel afraid. I felt free. He came back in the late afternoon, looking rumpled, hungover, and irritated, like he was the one who'd been wronged. The moment he realized his key didn't work, he pounded on the door with that familiar, entitled rhythm, the one that used to make me jump but now only made me tired. I opened the door just enough to see him. He looked startled, like he wasn't expecting consequences. He walked right past me into the house without being invited in, already complaining about the locks, saying I was being ridiculous, that I'd blown everything out of proportion. His excuses came fast. She was drunk. He was helping her. I misunderstood. It wasn't what it looked like. He didn't mean anything by leaving me stranded at a party. It was the same cycle I'd heard on smaller scales for years. Half-truths wrapped in arrogance, denial coated in self-pity. He kept shifting blame like it was second nature. He even tried the pitiful angle, saying he didn't want to embarrass me at the party, that he handled things wrong, but it wasn't cheating. The irony was painful. He still couldn't tell the truth even when the truth was already obvious. He started pacing the living room like it was still his space, muttering about how the rich woman must have misled me and how I was ruining our marriage over a misunderstanding. The more he talked, the clearer everything became. This wasn't a first-time mistake. This was who he was. This was who he'd always been. Only now I wasn't trying to excuse it. Eventually, I told him plainly he needed to pack his things and leave.
No yelling.
No dramatic speech. Just a calm boundary he never expected me to be capable of setting. He didn't take it well, of course. He accused me of being dramatic, of ruining our life, of acting crazy. He stormed out with a trash bag over his shoulder and a wounded ego, shouting empty threats about how I'd regret this. But when the door closed behind him, the silence didn't feel scary. It felt peaceful. For the first time in a long time, my home felt like mine again. Once he left, the house felt different. Quiet. Empty. Safe. The tension that had been gnawing at me for months was gone, replaced by a strange, almost foreign calm. I made a cup of coffee and just sat, letting myself breathe without guilt, without fear, without pretending. I went through the bags of his belongings he had left behind. Not angrily, not vindicatively, just practically. Designer shoes, gym clothes, video games, little trinkets he treasured, all reminders of someone I thought I knew but didn't. As I packed them neatly to donate or throw away, I realized how much of myself I'd neglected for him over the years. The emotional labor, the patience, the constant second-guessing gone. For the first time, I felt clarity. I didn't need to fight to keep someone who didn't respect me. I didn't need to beg for loyalty from someone who treated love like a transaction. I texted a few friends to let them know I was okay, that I might need their support. Then I called a locksmith to change the locks completely. I didn't want him to have any access, literally or figuratively. Sitting back with another cup of coffee, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't felt in years. Control. For the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was deciding. I was choosing myself. The next few days were strange, empty, painful, but also liberating. I spent hours replaying the night over in my mind. The party, the dollar bill, his smug smile, and how easily he walked out with her. The humiliation still stung, but the anger began to morph into something sharper. Clarity. I started journaling, letting myself write every thought, every insult, every detail that made me feel small. It helped me untangle the whirlwind of emotions, hurt, rage, disbelief, and finally, resolve. Friends came over. They hugged me, validated my feelings, and reminded me I deserved better. I cried a lot, but also laughed at the absurdity of it all, how audacious he was, how comically entitled he acted, and how blind I had been to subtle warning signs for years. I also realized something crucial. I didn't need his apology. I didn't need his regret. I didn't even need closure. All I needed was to reclaim my life, my space, and my dignity. And with each passing hour, the thought of him diminished. Not because I forgot what happened, but because I refused to give him any more power over my emotions. By the end of the week, I wasn't just surviving, I was starting to thrive. A few days later, he tried to contact me. Texts, calls, even one voicemail where his voice cracked trying to sound apologetic. I ignored them all at first. Finally, he showed up at the house uninvited. I opened the door just enough to see him pacing nervously on the porch. "Please," he started, voice soft, almost pleading. "Can we talk?" I messed up. I didn't mean. I held up my hand. "Stop. I don't want to hear it. I already know what happened, and nothing you say is going to change that." He ran a hand through his hair. "Come on, it was just one night. We can fix this. Please, give me a chance." I shook my head slowly. "No. You didn't just mess up. You chose to leave me for someone else, because she's rich. That's not a mistake. That's a decision." He faltered. "But I love you." I laughed bitterly. Love doesn't act like this. Love doesn't throw itself at wealth and forget the person who built your life with you. Love doesn't make me question everything I thought I knew about you. He looked stunned, speechless for the first time. I handed him a bag of his remaining things. "This is it. I'm done. You're done. The locks are changed, the doors are closed, and so is this chapter. Goodbye." He left, dragging the bag behind him, muttering, stumbling, and finally disappearing down the street. The days that followed were quiet, almost peaceful. No arguments, no betrayals, no dollar bills tossed at my feet. Just silence. And for the first time in years, I could breathe. I started doing things I'd neglected for years. Reading late into the night, redecorating my apartment, spending weekends with friends, and even treating myself to little luxuries I used to avoid because he wouldn't approve or it's too expensive. I also sought therapy to process everything because the betrayal wasn't just about that night at the party. It was about years of small lies, entitlement, and the realization that the person I thought I loved didn't exist. I began journaling every thought, every flash of anger or sadness, and slowly, clarity emerged. The anger stayed, but it transformed into power, a reminder that I had boundaries, and I had the strength to enforce them. Most importantly, I realized I didn't need anyone to validate my pain. I didn't need him to regret, apologize, or beg. I had the power to decide my own happiness, and that choice belonged entirely to me. It's been a few months since that night. The chaos, the humiliation, the dollar bill, everything is behind me now. I can finally look back and see the whole picture clearly. I learned some harsh but important truths. Trust is earned, not assumed. If your partner chooses money or opportunism over loyalty, that's on them. Boundaries are non-negotiable. Setting limits isn't cruelty, it's self-respect. You are enough. You don't need anyone who doesn't see your worth or treats love as a transaction. I still think about him sometimes, but not with anger or longing. I think about how grateful I am that I found out who he really was before it went any further. If there's one piece of advice I can give anyone in a similar situation, trust your instincts, protect yourself, and never let someone's greed or entitlement define your worth. The night at that party wasn't just a betrayal, it was a wake-up call. And now I'm free, whole, and finally putting myself first.